I believe you should have two separate layers. There's your observation layer and there's your abstraction layer. And you have to announce one or the other. It's dishonest to switch back and forth. You should be able to talk about the thing. And if you want to put your judgment upon it, then you can put your judgment upon it. But mixing of waters in ways so that other people can't tell what is what, so that they have to take whatever poison pill and whatever you say, to me that is irresponsible and it's deception for this reason, right? Majority faction, baked into that is the idea that different factions have different interests. And I've always found this to be hard to explain. Maybe having this term will be helpful. So look at my skin tone. You think when I was a very young child, I used to think my mother was white. And my great-grandmother, I used to think she was white because they're both very, very fair. They're both very, very fair-skinned. Do I think back when it mattered that my grandmother wouldn't have passed if she could? Hell yeah, she would have. And would I have done it? Hell yeah, I would have. Found this idea interesting to think about. And another example of it is Samuel L. Jackson's character in Django Unchained, the Uncle Tom. So I've used this example before. You can imagine a woman passing, working at a restaurant or any store, in a client-facing role. And if you take a person who is a member of the majority faction, right? If you ask a member of the majority faction, is it okay to lie in your resume? How do you feel about radical honesty? That shit is really easy to say if you are not white, but if you are a member of the majority faction, right? If you are in the position where even the wrong or contradictory parts of what you believe, you are insulated from the consequences, and it's others' jobs to run around and fix it for you, then you can believe any bullshit that you want. That's fine, right? That's just a fact of majority faction. But what you have to understand is that you can't mindlessly carry that same ethical idea of radical honesty into every other faction, right? Depending on the actions of the majority faction. If the majority faction selects against the minority faction along that ethical line, then that minority faction cannot reach that threshold without self-injury. I don't know. It does not seem to be a very compassionate position to say that a woman who might have a family, who might have children, living in a discriminatory age, who can exclude herself from either an unfair disadvantage or even just intentional, deliberate injury, and she can do so in order to meet her personal obligations to self-preservation and preservation of her family. But she shouldn't, because you have a higher idea that is absolutely free for you from your position. It costs you nothing, right? And I guess either choice that you make is your business. But the value here to me is that I want it to make bare that you are demanding a trade-off. You are forced to choose between her right to self-preservation and perception of her obligation to someone else's story, whether it be yours or the society that she's in or her boss. And that is also fine. There's value in developing a clear enough language that trade-offs like that are explicitly labeled. It is endemic, I think, in American society, the use of carefully crafted language written by smart people to degrade the boundaries of other people so that they can convince them to do what they want. I don't know. This wasn't as clear as I wanted it to be, but I'm just spitballing here.